It's found in 1 Corinthians 14. Let me tell you this. Verse 27. If any speak in a tongue, let there be only 2 or 3, and each in turn. In other words, each in turn. You don't have a bunch of people babbling all at once. You go into a church where you got 2, 3, 4, 10 people all babbling in tongues at once. Guess what? Not a biblical church. Not scriptural. They don't have any respect for the Word of God. They're just carrying on the way they want to with no regard for the Word of God. And it says if you're going to speak in tongues, let someone interpret. If there is no one to interpret, let each of them who speak in tongues keep silent in the church. I'll tell you what, right here. You take these 3 things. If you come across those who say you've got to speak in tongues to be saved, reject it, get out of there. If you come across places where they're all babbling in tongues at once, they're not following the Scriptures. And if you come across people speaking in tongues and there's no interpreter, they're not doing it according to the Spirit of God. I tell you what, you boil down tongue speaking in this country in light of those 3 realities, and you've just burnt off 99% of everything that claims to be tongue speaking in this country. Then I'll tell you this. The Apostle Paul said that he would rather speak, 5 words in an understandable language prophesying than 10,000 words in tongues. Why? Because he says this, the gift of tongues is for unbelievers. You know why it's for unbelievers? Because what happened in the day of Pentecost? They began speaking in tongues and people were hearing the mighty works of God in their own language. You see, when we're in churches where everybody knows the same language, we don't need the gift of tongues. So is it for today? I would say, yes, it's for today. But Paul diminishes its value inside the local church where we all know the same language to the point where we don't need it. It's not useful. If it's out there on the front lines where people are preaching the gospel and it's in a certain... it's interesting. John Seitzman told me that when he's been down in Mexico, he's gone to some of the Spanish-speaking Mexican charismatics down there, and he said, well, you guys all speak in tongues. Would somebody please speak in English? Or how was it? that they would basically be able to, I think that's what he wanted to have happen. He was among people that couldn't speak English and didn't know English, and he was calling on some of them to speak English if they all had the gifts of tongue, and he said, amazing, they all had the gifts of tongues, but nobody could speak English. I mean, what a dead giveaway. Is this a God-given gift or isn't it? If it's a God-given gift, it's a supernatural deal. I'll tell you this, Paul Washer had a man by the name of Bill McLeod, and some of you, I've probably told this story before. Bill McLeod was down there at the last Heart Cry conference. Back in the lumberjack revival days up in Canada, they had an Indian woman come in who didn't know a lick of English, and he preached the entire, she only spoke her Indian language, native language. He preached the entire message in English, and when he got done, she heard the entire. You know what? That's exactly the kind of place where the gift of tongues is given. But the vast majority of what's going on today in these charismatic circles, it's garbage. It's man-made. It's simply babble. Kenny Flasspohler's brother-in-law was just here. We had dinner a week ago, and he was sitting across the table from me, and he came out of a charismatic circle. He's in a Reformed Baptist circle now. I said, did you speak in tongues? He said, yeah. I said, do it. And he just rattled off some stuff. You know what? Most of that stuff, it's made up or it's demonic. I mean, sometimes it's demonic. And I've heard of missionaries that have been in churches where they heard tongue speaking and they thought, whoa, that's strange. That does sound like a language. And I can remember one where a man thought, that sounds like Hebrew. And he had a friend who knew Hebrew, and he brought him back into those services, and sure enough, it was Hebrew. And they were cursing God. They were not proclaiming the mighty works. And it was demonic.
Ini seminar diadakan. Pak Tong, apakah sekarang ini kita boleh percaya pada nubuat, mujizat, dan bahasa roh? Pada saat yang perlu sekali. Karunia lidah, saya percaya mungkin diberikan. Tetapi karunia lidah yang sekarang beredar ini, saya percaya lebih dari 95% palsu. Saya bukan orang tidak percaya, tapi saya tidak menjadi orang sembarangan percaya. Karunia lidah yang apa yang diperlukan? Dulu, waktu orang mau mendengar Injil, terbatas bahasa yang tidak mengerti. Maka Roh Kudus memberikan karunia kepada para rasul, membicarkan bahasa asing. Sehingga orang yang tidak mengerti, waktu mendengar adalah bahasa yang dimengerti. Mereka yang tidak mengerti menjadi mengerti karena ada karunia lidah. Sekarang perlu tidak? Nah, begitu perlu. Karena kitab suci orang Kristen sudah diterjemahkan ke dalam 1.300 macam bahasa yang penting di seluruh dunia. Sehingga engkau sudah boleh mengerti firman Tuhan melalui penterjemahan. Tetapi sekarang tetap ada orang menggembar-gembar karunia lidah itu penting. Karena apa? Karena mereka pikir yang ngerti jadi tidak ngerti. Bedanya adalah dulu tidak ngerti, ada karunia lidah jadi ngerti. Sekarang sudah ngerti, ada karunia lidah jadi tidak ngerti. Kalau gini buat apa? Supaya gengsi, saya ada Roh Kudus. Jadi karismatik dan Pantekosta mempunyai satu kesalahan yang paling besar. Mereka mengatakan karunia lidah boleh dibagi dua macam. Satu macam karunia, satu macam manifestasi. Yang disebut di karunia adalah satu di antara 9 macam karunia, sehingga tidak semua orang dapatkan. Tetapi yang disebut manifestasi adalah diberikan kepada setiap orang. Kalau dia dibaptis oleh Roh Kudus, harus ada karunia lidah. Ini bukan ajaran Alkitab. Paulus mengatakan semua dapat karunia kah? Roh Kudus kah? Semua dapat karunia lidah kah? Tidak. Jawaban adalah bukan semua. Engkau bilang pasti bukan semua. Itu kan untuk karunia. Karunia pelayanan. Bukan untuk manifestasi. Maka mereka mendua artikan. Membuat karunia lidah menjadi dua macam. Atas paksaan untuk menutupi kesalahan daripada tafsiran mereka.
Quidem, Widi.
سلب وكعلم من الموت تماشى اليهود وكل ساكن القدس واشقرام شكاح ويش
אתם מופתים בשמיים ובארץ הטקס. אתם מופתים בשמיים ובארץ הטקס.